Đi ngủ nào. One day, I drew a picture of a snake with an elephant inside it. Why, you ask me? This is my answer. I drew the picture because I read an interesting book about snakes. Snakes catch animals and they eat them whole. I was 6 years old and it was my first picture. It is my picture number 1. Here it is. I showed my picture to some grown-ups and I asked them, "Are you frightened by my picture?" All of them said the same thing. "I'm not frightened by a picture of a hat." But it was not a picture of a hat. It was a picture of a snake with an elephant inside it. Then I drew my picture number 2 because grown-ups are not very intelligent. Here it is. I showed picture number 2 to the grown-ups, but they were not interested in it. I was sad and I stopped drawing pictures. I went to school and I learned about other things. Then I became a grown-up and I learned to fly planes. I flew planes all over the world and I met lots of other grown-ups. Sometimes I show my picture number 1 to other grown-ups, but they are not very intelligent. I told this before. They always say it's a hat, and I do not show them picture number 2. Then one day I met the little prince and I showed a picture to him. I crashed my plane in Sahara Desert and I met him the next day. I was not hurt, but I could not start the plane again. I was alone in the desert and I did not have much water. I had to work on the plane quickly. That night I slept on the sand. Then, the next morning, I was very surprised. I woke up and I heard a voice. "Draw me a sheep, please," the voice said. "What?" I said. I want you to draw me a sheep," said the voice. I opened my eyes and I jumped up. A boy with golden hair stood next to me. I was very surprised to see him because we were in the middle of a desert in Africa. We were alone in the desert, but he did not look frightened. This is my picture of the boy. It is not very good. I never learned to draw very well. "What are you doing here?" I said. It was difficult to speak because I was surprised. He laughed quietly. But he did not answer me. He said again, "Please draw me a sheep." I'm good at lots of things, but I'm not very good at drawing," I said. "It doesn't matter," he said slowly. "You can draw me a sheep." "I can't draw sheep," I said, "but I can draw this." I drew him my picture number 1, the drawing of the snake with the whole elephant inside it. No, I don't want a picture of an elephant inside the snake," he said. "At home, everything is very small, and the elephants are too big. I need a sheep." Then he said again, "Draw me a sheep." Again, I was very surprised and I drew a sheep. He looked at it, then he said, "No, the sheep doesn't look very well. Try again." I drew a second sheep. The boy looked at it and he smiled. "This isn't a sheep," he said. "This is a ram. I can see the horns on its head. Try again." I drew the sheep again, and I did not put any horns on its head. But he did not like that drawing because the sheep looked too old. I want a young sheep, he said. I want the sheep to live for a long time. I did not want to draw another picture because I wanted to work on my plane. Then I thought hard and I drew this picture very quickly. The sheep lives in the box, I said to him. He looked closely at the picture. Then I was surprised because he laughed. This is very good, he said. Will the sheep eat a lot of grass? Why? I asked. Because at home everything is very small and there isn't much grass, he said. It'll be fine, I said. The sheep is very small. He looked again at the picture and he said, She's small, but she isn't very small, he said. Then he said, Look, she's sleeping. I thought, the boy understands my pictures. Cho quảng cáo. Chapter 3. On the second day, I asked the little prince, Where do you come from? But he did not answer me. He always asked me lots and lots of questions, but he never answered my questions. What's that thing? He asked. It isn't a thing, it's my plane, I said. It flies in the sky, but it crashed yesterday. Did you fall out of the sky? He asked. Yes, I did, I said. Oh, that's funny, he said. That's very funny. Then he laughed, and I was angry because I did not like his laugh. Then he said something strange. You came down from the sky too? Which planet are you from? I started to understand this strange boy. I'm from this planet, Earth, I said. Where do you come from? He did not answer me. He wanted to talk about my plane and his sheep, but I knew something about him now. He came from a very small planet. Every day, I learned a bit more about the little prince and his planet. I also learned about his journey to Earth. I do not want to forget anything, and I want you to learn about it too. I will tell you the story and I will draw pictures, but you must remember something. I'm not very good at drawing, but I will try hard. I will not draw a picture of my plane because that is too difficult. Here is my drawing of the little prince on his very small planet. On the third day, the little prince told me about his problem with trees. First, he asked me, Do sheep eat little trees? Yes, I said, sheep eat most things. Good, he said, my sheep will eat the baobabs. I was very surprised. Baobabs are very big trees. I said, your sheep couldn't eat a baobab. Lots and lots of elephants couldn't eat one baobab. The little prince laughed. That's funny, he said. My planet is very small. Could the elephant stand on top of other elephants? He laughed, and I drew him a picture. Then he thought hard and he said, Baobabs are very small trees. Then they grow up and they become big trees. Of course, I said, but why do you want the sheep to eat the small baobabs? He was very surprised. Don't you understand? He said. My planet is very small, and there are lots and lots of small baobab trees. My sheep must eat them because I can't have big trees on my very small planet. Big trees will hurt my planet and people must look after their planet. I understand, I said. It's bad to have too many big trees on a small planet, he said. Draw me a beautiful picture of some very big baobab trees on a small planet, please. You can show it to people on Earth. Yes, I said. Then people will understand baobabs are bad for our planet. I worked very hard on my drawing and here it is. On the fourth day, the little prince told me about the sunset on his planet. That morning, he said to me, I love sunsets. Let's go and see one. But we can't, I said. We have to wait. What do we have to wait for? He asked. We have to wait until the end of the day. Of course, I said. He looked very surprised. Then he started to laugh. I'm stupid, he said. I'm on Earth, not at home. I understood. On Earth, a big planet, we can see a sunset in one country, but we cannot see a second sunset in another country 1 minute after the first sunset. On the little prince planet, a very small planet, he could sit in his chair and watch a sunset. Then he could move his chair and watch another sunset. One day, he told me I watched 43 sunsets. He also said, sunsets are very beautiful and beautiful things are important. But sunsets are too sad too. You saw 43 beautiful sunsets, I said. Were you sad that day? But he did not answer me. On the fifth day, the little prince said, sheep eat small trees, I know. Do they eat flowers too? My work on my plane was very difficult and I did not want to talk. I had to work on it quickly because I had a big problem. I did not have much water and I was always thirsty. I needed more water. I answered quickly. Sheep eat lots of different things. But do they eat flowers? He asked. Yes. No, I don't know. I shouted. It's not important. What do you mean, not important? He said. Of course it's important. His face was white and he looked very worried. I have a beautiful flower on my planet. She's my special flower, and I look after her, he said. I don't want your sheep to eat my flower. Then the little prince started to cry, and I became worried. It was dark now. I forgot about my plane, and I was not thirsty. I wanted to cry too. I held him in my arms, and I said to him, I can help you. I can draw a muzzle for the sheep. It will cover the sheep's mouth. Then the sheep cannot eat your flower. Thank you, said the little prince. He was better now, and I started to work on my plane again. He talked and I learned a lot about this flower. There were other flowers on his planet, but this flower was special. She's beautiful, and I love her, he said. Look after me, she said to me, and I looked after her every day. The little prince looked after her, and he looked after the planet too. He gave the flower water, and he covered her with glass every night. But she did not often say thank you. The little prince became angry with the flower because she was never happy, and she was often angry with him. Then the little prince told me very sadly, one day my flower said to me, "Don't look after me, I don't need you." This made me sad. I stopped my work on the plane again and looked at the little prince. I left my planet because my flower didn't need me, he said. On my last day there, I cleaned my volcanoes and I gave water to her. She said to me, "Don't cover me. I don't need a cover." I was surprised, but I didn't cover her. Then she said, "I love you, you know, but I don't need you. Go away now." I was very sad, and she was very sad. "Goodbye," I said to her, but she did not speak to me again. Then he said, "I know something now." Her words very angry, but they weren't important. She made me happy because she was beautiful, and that was important. I was too young to understand. Xong rồi.